So the law of respect says that people naturally follow other people or leaders who are stronger than themselves. That makes sense, right? But that's the law of respect. But I'm going to ask you this. Let's say the HR, who are my HR people in here? Let's say the HR says, hey, meet your new manager. And this is what your manager looks like. And you get to decide whether or not you're going to follow this person. One person, slightly over 5 feet tall, is a woman. She couldn't read or write. Her clothes are coarse and torn. And no, we're not talking about me. Her 2 front teeth are missing. And then there's this rumor going around on the Twitter and the Facebook that in the middle of the night, she just up and left her husband when she was 29 years old. We love a good scandal, don't we? But who just leave their husband in the middle of the night if they not on reality television? She has a really erratic employment history. Like, seriously? Like, she works for a few months and then she doesn't, and then she comes back and works again. And on top of everything else, she was known to fall asleep in the middle of a conversation. Hello, meet your new manager. Now, when Jessica talked about leader and those aspects of leadership, is that somebody you're thinking, this person could have really good influence over me? No?
I'd kind of look at HR kind of crazy.
You'd be like, HR, what you thinking? Like, you start questioning your character and integrity. Like, is HR like, what are they doing at break time? Like, who are they hanging out with? Why do they think this is somebody we should follow? Right? Mm-hmm. But get this. More than 300 people actually did follow her. Bells are about to start going off. Though she was free, she risked her life to save others. She was fearless. Stacy just had a light bulb moment, didn't you, Stacy? She came to be called Moses because not only was she a good leader, but they believed that she would lead folks to the promised land. She was the essence of the law of respect. Anybody have an idea who this 5-foot snag of 2 nodding off in the middle of a conversation woman is? Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a true leader. And I like to say this when we do this part. We don't just bring Harriet Tubman up in February, right? Because when I was a kid, that's the only time I heard about Harriet Tubman. And I certainly didn't know she was like falling asleep in the middle of things. That would have been pretty interesting. That would have kept me compelled in 2nd grade when they were teaching me these things. But this is the example of a true leader. This is someone who was stronger than most in terms of her leadership ability and skills. But if you looked at her physical manifestation and you looked at the outside characteristics, there's no way in the world you would have said, at first sight, this is a proven leader. But she was. And the thing that we know about Harriet Tubman is, all those things we talked about with the teeth missing and the narcolepsy, the erratic employment history makes sense, right? The leaving her husband in the middle of the night, that took some leadership skills types things because, Harriet was born a slave. Her husband was a free man. And so one day Harriet decided, I don't really like this life I'm living. Remember Jessica said, surround yourself with people who are going to encourage and push you. So I'd imagine what had happened was, and I forgot to mention that sometimes I make up words and I would say ain't a lot just because it's to the chagrin of my stepmother who tried to get it out of me in the 6th grade. But I would imagine that this is what happened. Somebody else had the experience, right? Somebody tried to tell you that ain't a word, but ain't is a word because it's in the, I like double negatives and double positives too. Ain't. But anyway, she put herself she was in a situation where she decided this was probably not the life she wanted to lead, right? And so she probably had this conversation, and though Jessica, mentioned how old I was, I'm not this old, so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of what I think this conversation went like. I think Harriet probably went to her husband and said, John, you know what? This ain't no way to live. I want out of here. And you know what John said? John probably said, oh, Harriet, cut all that foolishness. We got a good life here. Remember, he was free. He wasn't real free, but he was free. She wasn't. So she hatched a plan. Like, okay, I need to figure out a way to do that. One of these, we talk about strategy. Leaders are visionaries, right? She saw that there could be more to her life. So she hatched a plan. It took her about 4 years to figure it out. So that's how she ended up getting all famous on the social media. You know, they talking about her. She became a trending topic on the Twitter or something. But then there was the whole narcolepsy thing, right? So when she was a child, this is another example of her leadership and how she didn't go along with what was expected of her. When she was probably 14 years old, she was in a storehouse, and there was a slave who was attempting to run away. And the slave master said to Harriet, "Hey, stop that slave." And Harriet did one of these. Again, I wasn't there, so I'm just pretending. "My name Bennett, ain't in it." Of course, he became angry because of that, threw a 2-pound weight, knocked her out. She almost died behind that. That probably explains the teeth and the narcolepsy and all of that. But despite those challenges that she had, right? She had challenges for a really long time. She still became someone that other people followed. Now, if Harriet Tubman has said, "I don't want to live this life. I want to go to freedom. I'm going to chart my course to freedom," that would have been cool. We've been like, kudos, Harriet, right? But she did what true leaders do. And what's that? She went back and she brought people with her. Repeatedly,